Go. Hello, Undisputed Boxing with Rick and Ave. We are here to talk about the big news. Alexander Povetkin has pulled out of the Dillian Whyte fight because he's got COVID, which means he is left without a fight. The Tyson Fury fight coming up on the 5th of December. A lot of discussion about his next opponent. Of course, a lot of us are asking, why aren't they just fighting each other? And I thought, who better to ask than Rick? But before you tell us about that, why don't you tell us about this this little pic that you got snapped? I think this was during his hiatus, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can tell by his weight. Yeah, that's for the. You can just about see that's the Parker Fury fight in the background. You can just see the promotional stuff. So we went to the weigh-in in Manchester, and I actually went to the fight the following day. And yeah, he was there, just shouting rubbish and whatnot. And so me and my mate Dom, or both our mate Dom, who's there, we went up and just got a picture. He just started singing to me as well. Started singing Lionel Richie, "Hello."
Just to you,
because we were getting the picture taken. So he just turned to me and started singing it. I was like, "All right, mate." But then Dom said, "We're going drinking."
Really? I didn't know he was doing that.
Oh yeah, odd.
What a character! I mean, it's very.
So you don't know, when someone does it, you're just like, "All right, mate, can we just have the picture and we'll go?"
That must have been very surreal, and it's very difficult, like, not to love Tyson Fury, because he is kind of like, he's almost kind of that Ricky Hatton type, the guy next door, very accessible. Yeah, it's kind of a bit strange. I didn't know that he did that. Now, honestly, tell me the truth. Did you ever think when you met him on that day that he would come back and beat Deontay Wilder twice, almost? We can say twice. I think the first fight, it was pretty much clear-cut.
I wouldn't have ruled it out. I probably don't think I thought it would happen in the way it has.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have ruled it out, because I've never been overstuck on Wilder. I thought what would probably happen is he'd take more warm-up fights and gradually go through the levels.
Yeah.
And then fight. Or Joshua, someone like that. I didn't think he'd fight. I think he fought 2 people, then jumped in the ring with him, then fought another 2, then jumped in the ring with him. I thought he'd probably fight 2 puddings, a step up, a world-class fighter, and then get in the ring with him. And I didn't expect him to beat him in the manner he did the second time round. So your question, yes, but not in the manner that he did it.
Yeah.
But he was very heavy there. I mean, he was probably 25 stone there, I'd have said.
Bloody hell. I know. That's what I'm saying. It's very difficult to, like, and I remember when he beat Klitschko, he was actually still pretty kind of unpopular or unheard of. I mean, it was only really the boxing hardcore that were kind of, beating the Tyson Fury bandwagon. At that point, everybody was still talking about Joshua. But yeah.
He wasn't popular. He became popular when he talks about his depression and stuff. It's odd how it happens in the UK like that. But I mean, I remember I had tickets for the Klitschko fight, and it got moved, so I couldn't go. It's because I was overseeing you in Singapore, actually, because we watched it, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then I had tickets for the second fight in Manchester, and then it got cancelled. But those tickets were not hard to get. They had sold out the arena. Yeah. Imagine that, Tyson Fury versus Klitschko. They couldn't sell all the tickets for Manchester Arena.
Yeah, it's quite strange.
That's how it was. That's how it was then. And I think 2 things have happened. 1, Fury's become more popular, and 2, boxing's more popular now, mainly because of Joshua in the UK.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, let's not digress too much. Fury versus Dillian Whyte. Why isn't it happening?
I think there's probably many reasons. I think the biggest one, I mean, they've not even got into the nitty-gritty, so you can't say, Whyte wanted more. I just don't think it's being entertained. So we probably need to start with that reason and focus on that reason. It's not even being discussed. I think Whyte would have it. easily. Why wouldn't you? It's what you really want. It's why you're fighting Povetkin again, really, for a shot at it. So this is, you know, there'll be a few people out there that he doesn't deserve it. He's got to fight Povetkin again, and I get that. And part of me's on that page, but you know, he's had a bad run, really, and bad luck to some degree with, you know, how long he's had to wait. So I don't mind him getting a break, you know, the other end of it, and getting this shot maybe when he shouldn't, because he should have had one earlier than this. But I think Matchroom would easily have it because, you know, they'd fancy him. Whether they'd let him go and fight on BT, question mark. I think the biggest thing is, don't think Warren and Co want it, frankly. I think, you know, and it's not just Warren and Bob Aaron. They all do it. They talk about fights that make both commercial and, you know, career sense for the boxer and for everybody involved. So, you know, Fury has a potential 2 mega fights next year that's worth millions and millions of pounds and undisputed potentially and all the glory in the world. Do you take on a Whyte who's dangerous? Probably not. Don't need it. You know, would earn a fair bit of money off it, more than Kabayal or you know, any of the ones that he's probably going to end up fighting. But it's just an undue risk. Even though there'd be a rematch in it, they just wouldn't want to get anything in the way. I mean, you know, they wouldn't have really wanted the Wilder rematch. So this is like a godsend to them, really. So it's like, right, let's fight someone a bit safe, someone we can outpoint, and then go into the. It's more what you can. It's more about what you're losing out on if you lose. That's what it's usually about. But it'd be the same. You know, Hearn would do the same thing on the other side of it. You know.
Yeah.
So that's my view. It's not even being spoken about or entertained because the Fury side. I'm not necessarily on about Tyson. I'm on about the business people go, do you know what? We don't need that. We've got a massive prize next year. Let's not take any silly risks.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
part of me gets it. What's your view on it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm asking you that question. I am of the same opinion. I just wonder if it's a bit of a miss from, you know, if you take the Fury team out of it, because I think Fury and Team Fury and all the people that manage Fury, that throughout his whole career, they've always been about risk versus reward fight. You know, even the 2 fights. I think his last 2 fights before he fought Klitschko for the title, he's working his way up the rankings, got himself into a mandatory position. But I think it was Christian Hammer was the last one, and then I think before that was Steve Cunningham, where he got floored. I don't know if maybe Derek Chisora might have been in there somewhere as well, but very kind of low-level fights. Definitely not top 10 guys. And then he went straight into Klitschko and then obviously did a number on him. So I think they're all about fighting low level and then the prize fight. And it's exactly what they did with Wilder. You know, they fought Sefer Safiri and then was it Pianetta, who are barely like top 100, and then went straight into Wilder. And, you know, fair play. I mean, he can move through the levels because he is that good. And I do believe that. But I just think if you look at it from a commercial, take the commercial part of it. Agit Kabayal is going to it's got to be less than 100 pay-per-view buys. And I do think that the style of Agit Kabayal it's going to be a tough watch, because I don't know if you've seen much of Kabayal. It's very difficult to get a read on him because he's only really fought Chisora and I think Rudenko are the only people that I've heard of. So he's hardly got like a highlight reel. But if you see the Chisora fight, he's actually pretty slick. He's comfortable on the back foot. He's got a good jab. He can throw combinations. He can fight on the inside. So I do think he'll give it a good go. But anyway, I digress. I think if you take if you look at it commercially, you know, Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury, or Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte, that probably does maybe about 1 million pay-per-view buys. And it'd be a massive signal from BT and Frank Warren and saying, look, that would be a big statement commercially. And I do think that Fury beats Dillian Whyte pretty comfortably, probably on points. I mean, he'll give him a nightmare and he'll put a lot of miles on the clock for Fury. And you know, history will tell you Fury doesn't do fights like that. He fights, you know, low-level guys, and then he fights, you know, for the main prize, and he does it very well. So I was disappointed that it wasn't even talked about, because obviously they were trying to get out of it when he was in mandatory position. So he's hardly going to take him on as a voluntary. I mean, Frank Warren did an interview, I think, on Talk Sport a few days ago, and he just dismissed it like out of hand. And it's very difficult to argue, you know, why would he do that? You know, he's got Anthony Joshua in sights, potential double header next year. Why, you know, why are we going to take the risk? And actually, that is something that, you know, Eddie Hearn and Dillian Whyte probably should have done with the Povetkin fight. You know, put him in with another kind of Marius Wack kind of level guy, and then he solidifies his mandatory position. He was not obligated to fight, you know, Povetkin. So you'd have to say, you know, a shrewd move by Frank Warren to just, you know, knock it on the head and go, list Agit Kabayal.
They're all at it. I mean, it's Warren was complaining that, you know, Dubois wouldn't fight White. Like, well, you know, they've seen Dubois as more of a risk than Povetkin. Probably do better numbers, but not huge, because I don't think Dubois is massively well known yet. And it's just a more of a risk. And it's also meaning them two working together. I think that ego element will always be a thing as well. You know, it'd have to be a big fight to get them two to work together. You know, especially with the heavyweights. So, you know, that's probably why, you know, the Dubois and White wouldn't have happened as well at this point. But I think you're right with Fury. I think we've seen it in his performances, and I've heard his brother talk about this, where when he has a bad day, Fury can be pretty awful and pretty ordinary in the ring. Yeah. And sometimes it can happen when he switches off. I think we've seen that a few times in his early career. And I think there's a danger that, you know, sometimes he just isn't he just isn't on form, and against someone not that good, he's not that exposed. But against someone better, you know, it could be all over, and someone like White would be deemed as that. So I think there's an element of, they know what Fury's like. He could always have a bad performance in him, and, you know, they'd rather him get beat off Joshua and get a massive payday in a rematch than off Dillian Whyte. And you're right, he would be favourite, but still. And I don't think him beating Whyte makes the Joshua fight bigger as well. Sometimes people take a fight to make the next fight bigger. I think if Fury beats Whyte, it's huge anyway. It won't get any bigger, really. You might add a few more on it, but probably not worth the risk in itself. It's almost that big. No other fight they can have would make it tons bigger. You know, it's not going to bring in the American audience that you might want a bit more off for that British fight. So I don't know. I get frustratingly, I get why it's not going to happen. But there you go. And again, this is where if he'd beaten Povetkin, it could be getting ordered now.
Yeah.
That's a frustrating thing. And now look what happens. He got beat. It delayed. It's now going to get delayed again. It just shows you've got to take your opportunities. So I feel for Dillian to some degree, but this time he did get chinned, and so he's got to kind of literally roll the punches that's led to. But yeah, it could, you know, the WBC could have now said, right, well, you know, Pulev is with Joshua, so you can have your mandatory now, and that's what we could be looking at.
Yeah,
but unfortunately not. Unfortunately not.
Yeah, it was. It is funny though. I remember there was another interview I saw with Frank Warren when he was talking about, because obviously he's talking about opponents for Tyson Fury. It's like, well, look, there's so many people that are unavailable. You know, Dillian Whyte's tied up and X tied up. You're like, okay, well, he's not tied up now. What do you reckon? Do you fancy it? It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen though. But I think sometimes the politics is almost.
I'd rather they'd be honest as well. I'd just rather they'd be honest with it. You know, both sets, Hearns is bad, Paul is bad. Just go, do you know what? We don't need that. We don't need that fight at the moment. You know what I mean? It's a risk. We've got going on, and they'd rather like save face. And I kind of understand, but part of me is just like you just be a bit genuine. Because if you're genuine, you can then call people out with a bit more credibility when you think they're doing the same. Yeah. You just go, oh, rubbish. It's because I know it is, because we do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we're not gonna see. But you're right, it would do big numbers in the UK.
Yeah.
It would do big numbers. The other thing as well, he could get cut, and then would that do something? If he might get knocked down, and then so it's not just the possibility of losing; it's an injury and all that. I mean, we don't know how good his eye's going to hold up. He never really took any damage off Wilder. Who's the guy he fought that split his eye?
Otto Wallin, the Swedish.
Wallin, yeah. I mean, that's another one of those performances off Fury where it's just he was not on the ball that day, and if that had been a decent fighter, it could have been curtains.
Yeah.
So we've not, that might be another thing as well.
Yeah.
And that might be another thing of why they're looking at certain opponents. It's like, I don't remember Kabayal throwing many punches. They might be looking to protect the eye. I know it was a while ago now, but that is tissue, that is weak skin no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think there's a strong argument to say that Wallin actually gave him a better fight than Wilder did in the second fight.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, so interesting. Any other heavyweight news? I think Hrgovic won last night, didn't he?
Yeah, Hrgovic won, not fighting anyone in particular. Chinese guy won, is it Yang? Big Bang Yang, that's his name.
Yeah.
But he's like, I think I only know more of him because I know they want him to, he's with Hearn and they're trying to get him higher up the rankings because I think they want to get a big fight with him and AJ in China. Now, it might not be a great fighting spectacle, but it's just commercially, it'd be probably big. So he won. He actually looked quite nimble for the size of him because he's a big lad. He's like 2'6".
Yeah.
Sorry, 260. But he's like 37. Just like, what you've been doing?
Yeah. But I think that is the problem with the heavyweight division at the moment. If let's say Fury beats Joshua twice next year, or Joshua beats Fury twice next year, like who's the next kind of like big challenger that you're going to be like excited about? Maybe Dubois, like Tony Yoka.
Dubois, Hrgovic. Yeah, Dubois, Hrgovic. I think. I mean, I was always gutted about Baby Miller. I mean, there's two big babies now. There's the American guy, but he's very green at the moment. But I was always gutted about Big Baby Miller, New Yorker. Took drugs God knows how many times, but he was someone that really livened the division up. Shame they never got to fight, because I think that would have been a cracking fight, him and AJ. But thing is, we've been quite spoilt at the moment. So even if we just get like one or two more through, that would be quite good. Ortiz, talking of old people, Ortiz fought last night as well against Flores, and I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a body shot that the guy goes down to. It just looks like, a footballer diving in the ring. Diving in the box. He was doing it in the ring. It like just looks so fake. He like caught him under like the floating rib area, but he like went to the ground and he got up and like kept falling over. It was quite pathetic.
Oh, really? Well, how long is that? His first fight since Wilder?
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think he'd knock him in the head, but he obviously feels that he's got something left and another go at it. And if the I think people are kind of circling around because they probably see the Fury Joshua fight taking place twice next year, and I'm hoping that the first fight will be for all the marbles, but then I think the second fight there'll be some getting relinquished, have to relinquish some of the belts, probably WBC and WBO. And then, that brings a lot of people into play. So people are circling, not wanting to take too many risks, probably ready to be the mandatories for that.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at it, if you just stay in the top 20, stay busy and stay fit, you could get like Agit Kabayal is going to have a shot at the WBC title on the 5th of December, having fought no one really. And the next one after that would have been Carlos Takam. Yeah. And Carlos Takam got run over by Derek Chisora 2 years ago. So it just goes to show, if you just stay fit, stay in that top 15, top 20, you could get that call, and you got yourself a shot at the title.
Yeah, it's a shame, really. I mean, there's like four groups of people, I think, in boxing. There's your crap and your journeyman. Then there's people that are actually really good, but somehow then you've got your second group of people that are actually really quite skilled, not huge commercial success, but just they have the ability to beat some of the big names, and people want to stay away from them, and they get bugger all opportunities versus their actual ability. And Billy Joe Saunders would be one of those. And then you've got people that aren't that actually that good, but their names are quite well known, and they seem to get more opportunities because they're not a threat. And then you get your real quality commercial giants, like your AJs and Canelos and that are great at boxing and commercial success. So it's almost like there's some people that are better at boxing than others, but they get a lot less opportunity.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I guess, do you know what? It's a really good example of what you've just described is Dave Allen of I think the third group that you were talking about, because they're talking about putting him in an 8-rounder on the. Is it the AJ? Oh no, I think he was supposed to go on the Dillian Whyte Povetkin card, which will just be a Saturday fight night now. But I don't know. I just feel like Dave Allen's kind of, he's had plenty of chances now. They're talking about wheeling him out again into an 8-rounder, and I'm like, I'm a little bit kind of bored with it now.
Yeah, another great one is you mentioned him before. Why didn't Dillian Whyte fight him instead of Povetkin? But he's that guy with a really durable chin, but doesn't really offer much.
Marius Wack.
Yeah. So Wack gets probably some okay paydays, and he gets to fight some decent fighters. But it's because he's just like, he's a name. Oh, and you can dress him up somehow. You can go, he's fought so-and-so and so-and-so. Yeah, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's had knockouts. If he knocks him out, then that's a big win. But he's no threat. And someone like that gets a lot better opportunity than, other people. Like people like Dubois will be avoided for a while,
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. We knock this one on the head then, because we are getting into time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The only other, talking about prospects in the heavyweight division, I'm quite excited about David Adelaide. I don't know if you've seen much of him. He's 3-0, 3 knockouts. He's with Frank Warren, and he's only 23.
He's part of AJ's camp, isn't he?
Yeah, he's sparring AJ at the moment. And I think with him being with Frank Warren, I think that's a good promoter for him to be with, because I think he'll just build him up steady, because I think he is very raw. I'm quite excited about him. Only 23, like I say, and I think maybe 2-3 years, I think he'll be sort of knocking on the door and being in some big domestic dust-up. So quite excited about him. But I think we've exhausted this one. Let's knock it on the head. Please like and subscribe.